What's this been like for you, man? From going from take me back. How did you find out that Max Brown had gotten the starting job before the first game of the season?
Right. First of all, thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. Yeah, I mean, Max. Coach Helton took me and Max in one-on-one, and a couple weeks before the season opener against Bama, and let us both know that Max was going to be the starter, and that's just how it went down. I was obviously disappointed, but I was super happy for Max, and he worked so hard and has worked so hard for the 4 years he's been here. He really deserved it, and it's just it's a blessing to be able to come in here and take advantage of the opportunity given to me. But Max definitely deserved that starting job.
When you finally got the call, when Coach Helton told you, was it like 4 weeks in the season, when he finally named you the starter, what was the first thing you did when you got back to your dorm room?
Right. I called my parents first and foremost. Called my sister, told them. They were super happy, thrilled. My mom was crying per usual. She was super excited, and let my friends know. And it got out the day after, and I got a bunch of texts and stuff wishing me luck and all that. But other than that, it's been I've been trying to live the same life that I've been living these past 18 years. So it's been awesome, but I'm continuing to just live the same life, be a normal kid.
Sam Darnold joining us on the Doug Gottlieb Show, CBS Sports Radio. The story goes, I grew up in Orange County. In Orange, I went to Tustin. You went to San Clemente, which if you don't know anything about it, like San Clemente is kind of the last outpost before you hit San Onofre, which is a closed down nuclear facility, and then you got nothing, and then you got San Diego. So it was the last stop before you get down to San Diego. But it wasn't just because of location. It was because you played hoop, right? You weren't doing the 7-on-7 thing other guys were doing, and that's why even though your senior season, your junior season was outstanding, senior season was outstanding, you weren't rated as highly because you weren't on the circuit. You were busy being a multi-sport athlete. Was that fair?
Yeah, it's definitely fair. I think also, I don't know if you knew this, but I only played 2 games my junior year. I only played 2 games because I broke my foot, and I thought that had a huge impact on my recruiting. But I was able to pick it up summer, junior year going into senior year, summer. I was able to do well in camps and made the Elite 11, did all that kind of stuff, and that really upped my recruiting. I was kind of forced to have to, do the 7-on-7 thing just to be able to get recruited and stuff, just because I don't, in high school, the 7-on-7 season is usually during basketball season, which was a huge priority for me. So, I was able to cut some time out to be able to do that and able to get recruited. So,
And you grew up, and it's USC UCLA week, which is a huge rivalry week. Sam Darnold, SC's quarterback, joining us in the Doug Gottlieb Show. But you grew up a Pete Carroll USC fan. But what's it been like when you were being recruited by USC, there's one coach. Then when you sign to USC and you redshirt, there's another coach. And then now as a freshman, there's another coach. What's it like for you to experience this part of SC with the turnover at the top?
Yeah, it's interesting. Not everyone gets to go through that, but I think it's when you look at it from a big picture perspective, I guess it's a good thing to experience, and it's good adversity to deal with. But at the same time, in my recruitment, I was able to get recruited by mostly Coach Clay Helton, and I think my relationship with Coach Clay, I was able to have a great relationship throughout the recruiting process, and I was had a great honor system with him, and really with every single coach that recruited me. And I think that's important in today's recruiting, is that you just are honest with all the coaches that you talk to and all that. But so with that being said, me and Coach Clay go back to him recruiting me my junior year, and we had a relationship back then, and it continues to grow today.
Sam Darnold joining us in the Doug Gottlieb Show on CBS Sports Radio. What some people don't know about you, and I don't know how many people know, your grandpa was the famous Marlboro Man. right? Which is and again, like
Right.
people don't have cigarette ads on TV anymore, but they used to. They're not as much in print anymore, but when they were, there was this famous like Western cowboy badass character, and it was your grandpa, who was also, by the way, a sick athlete.
Yep.
How much do you hear about that you're the grandson of the Marlboro Man and people's different images of what they remember of him?
Yeah, I mean, it's not said that often. It kind of got slid under the rug a little bit. But yeah, he was one of four, I think, original Marlboro men, and that's something that's pretty interesting, and not everyone can say. So
Plus he's like in the all-time name Hall of Fame. Like, and it's hard. Like his name was Dick Hammer. Like, I mean, it's like one of those names. Like, there's no way that was his name. That was really his name.
yeah, and he was a stud, and he was a great guy. So, unfortunately, he passed away before I could remember him. I was around 2, and my parents always tell me great stories about him, and my dad always tells me the story about him playing one-on-one with we called him Grampsy. With Grampsy at the time, he was around 60 years old, and my dad was, in his prime, I guess you could say, athletically, and they would play one-on-one, and Grampsy would still beat him with the jumper and with his post game. So he was a crazy athlete, and he was something special.
Yeah, Olympic athlete as well, and wow, just an amazing guy with an amazing story. As is yours, Sam Darnold, joining us in the Doug Gottlieb Show on CBS Sports Radio. All right, so you got UCLA this week. They're starting a backup. Their season, they started out the season, hey, we own LA. This is our time, our town. How much kind of luster is gone because UCLA has struggled so much this year?
I don't think there's a ton of luster that's gone away, to be honest with you. It's still a huge rivalry, and you see the separation in the town when it comes to this game. You either love SC, hate SC, or you love UCLA or you hate UCLA. It's not one or the other. It's not an in-between type of thing. So it's really interesting. But, ironically, we all come together in one place when it's all said and done on Saturday, and we come together and watch a ball game and have fun together. So, it's an interesting dynamic. But I think that it's awesome, and I think the rivalry is still really sharp, and I think a lot of people are still going to be super interested, especially here in Southern California, and I think it'll be a great game.
No question about it. Last thing, you competed and beat Washington at Washington, which is a signature win to this turnaround season. Start of the year, as I mentioned, you didn't get, you were backup when you guys played Alabama, but having seen both of those teams, is there that much of a difference between the level of athletic talent that Alabama throws out there and what UW threw out at you last week?
Right. I mean, it's an interesting question. Obviously Bama recruits the best of the best, and Washington has obviously picked it up in the last couple of years, but they're not typically known for that type of recruiting. The SEC and what Bama does. So. It's interesting, but, I mean, I don't think in college, at least, I don't think I'll ever see a D-line like Bama threw out there, or a front seven for that matter, with their linebackers as well. So, I mean, that defense, you could argue is an NFL defense. I mean, yeah, they might not compete with, an NFL offense, but those guys are going to be playing on Sundays, and it's when I was out there for a few plays, it was a huge, it was just a big difference in terms of speed and in terms of all that kind of stuff. So, but
it's a long way. Hey, that's a long way from San Clemente, right? Your first couple snaps, you're taking on Alabama, and you're like,
in Dallas, Texas,
yeah,
the big stage. So, that was pretty crazy and surreal for me, but. It's always good to get games like those under your belt.